Sound boring already? Wow. Ah! So here we are, folks. We have arrived at the precipice, which is the Black Panther 2 Wakanda reviews. At the moment, it is based on 136 reviews at 87%, which you think, for a film that they're trying to build a lot of hype for, you would think they'll probably be like in the 90% region at the moment, the nether regions. But you know what? I've got the critic scores for Metacritic to talk about. I know people say, why do you go to Rotten Tomatoes? It's not the barometer anymore. It used to be a long time ago, in my opinion, but then of course you see a lot of nefarious things going on with Rotten Tomatoes because Amazon may own IMDb, but they don't own Rotten Tomatoes. So when you see the differing scores coming up for, say, The Rings of Power, which is a great example, you kind of know that Rotten Tomatoes doesn't really care about what's going on in the bigger landscape of the culture war. But we've got to talk about this because I think it's absolutely hysterical. Oh, here we go. This thing keeps refreshing itself all the time, so it's hilarious. So Yasa Medina of Cinema Aficionados, Black Panther 2, it's a sequel that bores me in perpetuity with its abundance of one-dimensional female characters and, most of all, this is brilliant, bland action that exposes the anthropological side of Marvel without any sense of wonder. Oh my yassa, I love this guy already. I absolutely love him for saying that. And then you got another weirdo called Daniel Rutledge who says, it's cool that even a behemoth corporate beast or breast like Disney allowed the film to break the MCU's norms to honor Boseman in the way that it does. It's genuinely beautiful. Let me just pump the brakes there for a second. Chadwick Boseman was a good actor. I wouldn't call him a great actor, but he was good. He was worth watching the screen. But this is kind of like, it's overdoing the grief thing. It's like Queen Elizabeth II. I think the release of this film is kind of weird, not long after the death of our monarch, because it seems like, you even had Viola Davis trying to equate the character that she played in The Warrior King with Queen Elizabeth II. Didn't go down well with a lot of people, actually, which I thought was very funny. Marvel and Disney are trying to do the same thing here again in some way by doing it indirectly, trying to do it more subtly. The whole reason why they want you to go and watch Black Panther 2 is because they want you to remember what made the first film great. The first Black Panther film is not great in my opinion. Yeah, Michael B. Jordan was a pretty good villain as Killmonger, but months and months later, we don't talk about him again, and we don't talk about that character because people have moved on. Ms. Marvel on Disney Plus, as a Indian bloke myself, mostly Indian, I watched the first episode. I tuned out because it had a lot of Indian stereotypes, but because Marvel and Disney are behind it, whatever they put on the screen that is representative of a demographic they're trying to capture, but in my opinion they already captured anyway through the earlier MCU films before it became the MCU. If they're doing it, it can't offend anybody. But I sat there and I heard really weird urban slang coming out of people referring to white folks as goras. I mean, it was funny in Bend It Like Beckham, but it's not funny now apparently. What I find very interesting is that you've got a lot of white critics here who feel compelled to say nice things about Black Panther. Wakanda forever!
At first, they didn't know what to think of us, but soon we gained their trust.
Because, you can't go against the grain, can you? Alan Zilberman of the Washington City paper, Coogler and his team nearly pull it off. Be careful now, boys and girls. It's still early in the morning. Leading to moments of real power and emotion not normally found in superhero films. What the fuck is this guy talking about? And yet Marvel's need for a shared universe practically undermines it at every turn. Josh Larson on film. There's a smaller story about Solace buried somewhere in here, but Phase 4 has no interest in that. It's a movie about not seeing beyond your own grief. Every narrative tendril is implicated in grief, from historical colonialism, because we're talking about a superhero film, folks, that's trying to rewrite history in real life and not actually give you a superhero story. Oh god, and environmental exploitation to political repression. Sound boring already? Wow. Geeks of Color. Oh well, they gave it 9 out of 10. Oh, Dorian Parks, this guy is a douche, man. Oh, he's one of the worst presenters I've ever seen on Collider. Really nervous in front of the camera, is always referring to people of color as my boy, my boy. He's not your boy, Dorian. Shut up, you idiots. But here we are, folks, at Metacritic, so this will be an interesting one to look at. So the one I've highlighted here is the New York Post. Okay, they've given it 100. I don't know if this is the actual score, from Johnny Oleksinski. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, where have I heard that before? Because as soon as I saw this guy's name, I was like, you know what? I made a video about him, and here it is. Awesome. It is. I enjoyed what I read. So the guy to credit for this article is Johnny Oleksinski. Amen, Chris Pratt. I'm sick and tired of whiny woke reviews too. Now, having heard what he just said there, how come now that he's going to praise Black Panther 2? Wakanda forever! It's right, every aspect, acting, writing, special effects, score, is a notch above its superhero peers. In the best possible sense, you forget you're watching just another Marvel movie. It's a notch above its superhero peers. So, Oleksinski, are you saying that Black Panther 2 is better than the first Iron Man? All the previous phases of Marvel? Really? Is that what you're saying? Oh, okay. So Variety, you know, one of those rags that likes to virtue signal for SJWisms and agenda, they've given it 80. What have they said here? It's a slow burn, it's an emotional suspense. Once the film starts to gather steam, it doesn't let up. Yeah, but have you seen the bland action scenes, folks? That's what I want to know. Okay, we got Brian Lowry of CNN. In the parlance of Olympic diving, a good analogy for blockbuster movie making, BPW forever faced an inordinate degree of difficulty addressing the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman, or simply recast the role as soon as you can. Who are you going to offend by recasting? It's so stupid. The movie manages to strike that somber chord and still deliver as a Marvel-style piece of entertainment representing a major accomplishment, though the tension created by the two forces grinding in different directions can't entirely be ignored. I don't have to go on, folks. I mean, critics are divided. I think that there's meant to be like a show of force that people will come out here and support this film. Obviously, you had the Lavender Lee on TikTok with that very cringe take about, well, you know, if you go and see Black Panther and you're not a black person, make sure you sit in front of us in the cinema so you can protect us from getting hurt. What kind of a stupid virtue signal is that? You're actually inciting a riot of sorts by saying those irresponsible comments on TikTok. It's really bizarre beyond me. You even had the Japanese video game developer for Final Fantasy 16 having to jump to the defense of the game that he made or is making, where people were saying, so how come Final Fantasy 16 doesn't have characters of color in it? His response, well, we're setting it in medieval Europe where there weren't people of color at that time. Who do you think the predominant race of people are going to be at that time there, folks? You know, I'll just sit back and let you wonder for yourselves. So it's kind of good that Final Fantasy is taking a break from what it normally does. And don't get me wrong, I'm a bit of a Tina and Helena lover myself. But, you know, if they're telling a different story but setting it in the Final Fantasy realm, that is absolutely fine by me. I have no problem with that whatsoever. And I'm glad he stuck to his guns. He might be the same developer or another one like him that when Nier Automata came out, people were complaining about the sexualized images of the main female protagonist as a badass, in my opinion. And his response was, well, I like pretty women and I wanted a pretty woman in my game. So up yours, the people that keep saying, oh, why do we have this in entertainment? If you go to a Comic-Con, folks, you see a lot of sexy women cosplayers out there. Walk up to them and ask them if they feel offended by the character they're dressed up as. The answer will probably be, very likely, no. So that is it, folks. A quick rundown of the reviews for Black Panther 2. It's exhausting just going through these, to be honest, folks. It really is. Nobody cares about Iron Fart coming out. Nobody even talks about what the plot of the film is. I'm looking through all these reviews, and not one of them is telling me why we need to go and see the film. I know the whole focus of film reviews has changed a lot now. You can't say too much because you don't want to spoil people's expectations. Back in the 90s, when I walked past the Odeon Cinema and they had the billboard for Face Off, the one quote that I saw from Peter Travers of Rolling Stone, when he called it the holy grail of action movies, that got me stoked, that got me excited. And we don't get that kind of stuff anymore. It's like people are just tiptoeing around what to say, what not to say. It's just, I find it's just boring. It's like the best critic is you. You go and watch the film. If you enjoyed it, good for you. I'm not watching it because I've got better things to do, like hanging out with my buddy Sam this weekend, maybe watching Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix, and definitely playing Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2 on my OG Xbox consoles, which I bought recently because, yeah, I could play backward compatibility on my Xbox One, but it can't accommodate every single title, so I've just gone and bought the pre-owned versions of the OG Xboxes I used to have, and I've got them in my life again, which is great. So I'm sure Black Panther 2 will do a lot of business this weekend at the box office. Doesn't mean to say it's going to be a great film. The bland action sequences already I've heard about. Oh, here we go. I just saw this one. For all the film's janky pacing, thoroughly mediocre action set pieces, and the clumsiness with which it's forced to double as the backdoor for Disney Plus's Iron Fart series, Cougar's slub thread of the MCU continues to operate at a significantly higher strata of thought, artistry, and feeling than the rest of the Marvel's assembly line. That's it, folks. That's all you have to see. So on that one, guys, if you enjoyed this review today, make sure you leave a like below. Make sure you strangle yourself while you're doing the Wakanda salute forever. And if I were you, and if you were me, I will catch you on the next video.
Like and subscribe, or get your nuts Krogan crushed with Jason King.